On today's show, what will it take for the Washington Commanders to add a defensive player of the year to this defense? And in the event that they do, what does that mean for their championship outlook? Hello everybody, my name is Grant Mitchell, and if you found your way back to the channel, first of all, if you are a returning visitor and you haven't hit that subscribe button, then why not? It takes 2 seconds out of your day. It helps me get in the algorithms, helps out the channel, and it means that you're going to be locked in for Commanders news, content, and everything that is approaching throughout the rest of the offseason, the preseason, the regular season, and maybe even a run to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to give you 3 seconds here. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Hopefully you're all subscribed. If you're a first-time visitor here, like I said, we are talking about Commanders news, reacting to some of the headlines out there. Today, it's a little stale because, minicamp ended and players went their respective ways. So we're going to revisit a popular conversation here, but we're actually going to dive into the nuances of what it would take for the Commanders to land TJ Watt in a deal. Now, TJ Watt, along with Trey Hendrickson, 2 superstar edge rushers who are currently holding out of their contracts, something that the Commanders themselves are dealing with right now, with Terry McLaurin obviously failing to agree to a new deal, not showing up to mini camp. But TJ Watt here, he has made the Pro Bowl in 7 straight seasons. He's a 2021 Defensive Player of the Year winner. He is due to make only $21 million, which, while that is life-changing money for pretty much all of us watching this video, it's nothing for a guy of TJ Watt's caliber, especially now that Myles Garrett has signed that $40 million per year deal. His $28 million average annual value on his contract is only 7th amongst all edge rushers. I know that the average annual value isn't the end-all be-all. You got to get into the guarantees and everything. But still, you would expect him to be 3rd at worst. You would expect to see Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and TJ Watt as the top 3 guys. Micah Parsons, when he gets his deal, he'll be up there as well. But that's not where TJ Watt is. Obviously, he's not signed his contract, has not been in minicamp. Mike Tomlin did say, quote, "I'm optimistic we're going to get things done because we got 2 sides that want to get things done. When that's going to occur, I don't know." So there's no immediate agreement in place, and they're just waiting to cross the T's, dot the I's, and sign the paperwork. That means there is a window here. And if I'm looking at this impartially, even though as a Commanders fan, I would be stoked if TJ Watt was putting on the burgundy and gold next year. If I'm looking at this objectively, the Steelers coaching staff is insistent that Derek Harmon is the starting left end next year. If you don't know Derek Harmon, he was their first round selection, had 11.5 sacks at Oregon last year. New young talent edge rusher. We know the Steelers are never going to be starved for defensive talent. Yes, TJ Watt is a brilliant player, but it's not like their defense is going to collapse if he's gone. And Derek Harmon, they have anointed to kind of be that next guy to lead their defense. Now, Watt plays on the right, Harmon on the left. So this is not a like-for-like replacement. But my point I'm kind of making here is, if they've identified that guy who they believe can be their next star, then it wouldn't be awful for them to move off of their current star who's trying to eat up a huge chunk of their salary cap. Also, just off the top of my head, am I crazy? I think TJ Watt played 2 years at Wisconsin. In his second year had 11.5 sacks. Derek Harmon played 2 years at Oregon. In his second season had 11.5 sacks. Check that out. Let me know in the comments if that's correct, but I believe it is. Just funny how some things work. Speaking of 11.5 sacks, Watt had 11.5 sacks last year, tied for 8th among all players, but he did force 6 forced fumbles, which led the league. He also managed 2 fumble recoveries, 61 total tackles, and was Pro Football Focus's top-graded run defender at the edge position. So a guy that can do it in a number of ways and forms. Over the last 5 years, the Steelers ranked 3rd in takeaways per game and 6th in points allowed per game. You can credit TJ Watt with a huge chunk of that. His 17-game average during those 5 years, 17 sacks, 4 forced fumbles per season. Ridiculous numbers. Now, the Commanders have not had a first-team All-Pro defensive player since 1992. I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds to think about who it might have been. If you said Darrell Green, you were almost right. He was a first-team All-Pro in 1991. In 1992, it was linebacker Wilber Marshall. No first-teamer since then. If you want to say Jeremy Reeves, I'm going to put up a fight with you because he was a first-team All-Pro. He is a safety in 2022, but he was named as a special teamer. Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner got on the second team All-Pro list last year, so not that the Commanders don't have quality players, but they don't have that guy, and they haven't for 30 years now, 30 years plus, that's in the conversation for the best defensive player in the league. Get TJ Watt over here, and he does that. I know there are going to be concerns that he's 30 years old. It's not the same as a Terry situation, just a receiver situation in general, nothing specific to do with Terry. Edge rushers can normally hold up a little bit longer into their career than some of those skill position guys. The Steelers over the last 5 years with TJ Watt on the field, 49, 27, and 1. This guy, he makes winning plays all the time. And again, it's his ability to get to the quarterback and force the fumbles. That's what separates him. That's what the Commanders want to be able to do. They want to play this aggressive style. They want to get the ball out of their opponent's hands, but they couldn't do that last year. Direct quote from defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. right here. We didn't produce the ball like I wanted to last season. We didn't play the run well enough, and I thought that we would have. And then closing games out, it wasn't the way I was anticipating. It's absolutely right. If you've got a steady starter, a guy who's going to go 6 innings, give up 2 to 3 earned runs. Nothing incredible, but he's going to hold serve. And you get to the bottom of the 9th, and you don't have that guy to get you over the edge, to close the deal. What does that sound like? That sounds like the Commanders' defense last year. Jayden Daniels ended up being that closing pitcher just because of how good he was. And while Jayden very well could win the MVP this year, if Terry comes back or he gets some weapons, you're probably not going to get 5, 6 fourth quarter comebacks. You're probably not going to have this same record in one-score games. You're also playing a harder strength of schedule. So if you can get that shutdown, closer, reliever, whatever you want to call him on the defensive side of the ball, who not only holds the opponents out of the end zone, but gives the ball back to your offense, that is when you become lethal. Now, I know everybody's thinking, hey, it's fun. It's a fun fantasy. How the heck would the Commanders get to TJ Watt? I am so glad you asked. If you go to overthecap.com, they have a tool called the Fitzgerald-Spielberger evaluation. I hope that I am pronouncing that correctly. Spielberger. The FS evaluation. That's what we're going to call it. FS evaluation. It's essentially a formula that equates players and draft picks to a points value, not too dissimilar from you see during the NFL draft. General managers and coaches will get a trade offer like, hey, we'll trade you our 27 third and our 28 fourth for your current second round pick. And it's like, hold on, let me add up the points. And every pick has a certain points value. I forget what the range is. I want to say it starts at like 3,000 and goes down to 1. But it gives you a way to get to have a mathematical quantitative analysis of what you're actually talking about here. So this formula does that, but it also factors in positional importance. So quarterback, important. Edge rusher, important. Guard, less important. Strong safety, less important. No disrespect to those guys. They have important roles to play. And then it also gives you, it translates those points into contract values. So you can line them up that way. So, as I said earlier, Myles Garrett reset the market, $40 million per year on his average annual value. We've got to assume Watt wants to be close to that. I wish I could remember off the top of my head how old Myles Garrett is. I would assume he's about 30, same as TJ Watt. I don't know that the Steelers are going to be willing to get to that $40 million number. They're currently $700,000 away from having the 9th least cap space. So like they're right there. And if they sign up to pay a huge amount of money, that would really put them in cap peril. Granted, in 26, they've got a lot of cap space, but with the signing of Derek Harmon, again, who they've identified as their next elite edge rusher, it's not a necessity that you bring Watt back. So according to this evaluation here, I'm getting to the point, I promise. According to this evaluation, the Commanders could hit $35 million in value if they trade Daron Payne, a 27 first, and a 26 fifth. If you want to get to $39 million, which puts them obviously just a tick under that $40 million value set by Myles Garrett, add in a 27 fourth as well. So it would be Daron Payne, 26 fifth, 27 first, 27 fourth. That's how you get to $39 million. In my head, the Steelers would ask for more than that. But this evaluation says, no, this is a fair offer. And I've got to be honest, if that's what it takes, Daron Payne, future first-round pick would hurt because they've mortgaged some capital already, but to their credit, they have been holding on to their first-round picks. If you can get all of that out of the way and you get TJ Watt on this team, and just like I've been talking about the Steelers having Derek Harmon, if Johnny Newton is what the Commanders really believe he is, then they want him to replace Daron Payne. Daron Payne, when he signed that contract a couple of years ago, was the second highest paid defensive tackle in the entire league, only behind Aaron Donald. He has not lived up to that standard. He has 4 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. The Commanders' defensive line has been really bad against the run. There's been a lot of praise going on Daron Payne's name during the offseason. Joe Jr., Dan Quinn, they've said he's shown up ready to compete, and they love his leadership and his level of intensity in the offseason. That's great. We know he can do it because he had that one season with 11.5 sacks, but he hasn't given us reason to believe that he'll do it again. Maybe these comments are indications that that's going to change, but the point remains. You signed Javon Kinlaw to a nice deal. You trust him at that defensive tackle spot. You drafted Johnny Newton the 2nd round. You trust him at that tackle spot. You don't have an edge, no disrespect. You don't have a household name at edge to speak of right now. If it's TJ Watt for Daron Payne in these picks, I say you absolutely pull the trigger. I don't know what the Commanders' Super Bowl odds, I can look this up real quick. I want to say the Commanders' Super Bowl odds are about plus 2,000. And I'm looking at FanDuel. I just want to confirm this real quick. So they're currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in odds at exactly plus 2,000. Okay, there you go. You got the Rams above them at plus 1,900, and then it jumps to the top 5, which is Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, all those teams plus 1,000 or shorter. If you put TJ Watt on this team, I'm guessing the Commanders are probably in like the plus 1,200, plus 1,100 sort of range. Keeping Daron Payne versus just losing Daron Payne. Like, let's say hypothetically, the Commanders cut Daron Payne tomorrow. Would never happen, but just hypothetically. Their Super Bowl odds go from plus 2,000 to plus 2,000, plus 2,100. Trade Daron Payne for TJ Watt. There is a noticeable improvement. At that point, it's like, hey, do the Commanders have a better roster than the Lions? Still probably not better than the Eagles, but in terms of impact players, is TJ Watt better than Jalen Carter? Meaning, are they the best? Is he the best defensive player on either one of those teams? I would still say yes. Who's the best offensive player? Jayden Daniels or Saquon Barkley? You can probably make an argument that's going to be Jayden next year. I'm a little pessimistic about Saquon. Not that there's nothing to love, but after such an enormous workload last year and playing deep into the season, do I think he's going to be quite fresh enough to do the same thing? No. I think he'll still give you 1,500 yards, which is a brilliant season. But if it's 1,500 yards versus Jayden improving on what he did last year, Jayden's the best offensive player in that matchup. Aside from maybe Lane Johnson, but we're really splitting hairs there. And we're also trying to equate 2 positions that have no sort of, you can't really compare them. So the Commanders could have the best offensive and the best defensive player against their arch rivals, the Super Bowl champions. For Daron Payne, a 1st, a 5th, and maybe an additional 4th. I think it's absolutely something you have to do, as I've said a couple of times already. Now, this would give the Steelers some breathing space, like I'm talking about cap-wise. There's been some people saying that Daron Payne is going into a contract year, and I understand why they're saying that. It's not fully true. So he's under contract for 2 more years. The Commanders do have a potential out next season. He's going to count for $28.5 million against the cap, but they could cut him for $11 million against the cap. So it's not a 100% certainty that he will be around, but it would still be punitive for them to cut him because that's $11 million in dead money. Again, not the biggest thing in the world, but it's not like this is the final year of his deal and then wash the hands or, hey, we got to get you back on a new contract. No, he's still under contract for 2026. So hold on to that. If I'm Adam Peters, look, you've got to recognize your championship window, and he does. I want to give him credit. You look at the moves they've made. While I question the long-term viability, the Laramie Tunsil, Deebo Samuel, Marshawn Lattimore, how many years do they have as a really good to great players? Probably not a lot. Tunsil, probably the most of them left. TJ Watt, I get it, 30 years old. probably not going to be at that DPOY level for too much longer as well. But the fact that he has given you, again, over the last 5 seasons, 17 sacks a season, 4 forced fumbles a season. He's played in 91% of possible games since he was drafted. And he is a relentless worker. I trust him to be in shape and giving you great production until like 33, 34 years old. And at that point, you're at the end of the rookie contract window anyway. So your championship window, as far as the rookie deal, they coincide very well. They work together. And when it's time to move on from J.J. Watt, you just send that money on over to Jayden's bank account. You retype in the account number, change the wiring number, and go straight to Jayden Daniels. And it's something that, at the way that the Commanders are running the front office, which I believe to be positive, but the fact that they are making these swings, they're trading the future draft capital for these win-now players. If T.J. Watt is available at all, I like this so much better than the Trey Hendrickson deal. Because T.J. Watt, on top of getting the huge numbers, produces the ball and is the best run defender in football at his position. It's something that I think would really be important for the Commanders to do if it is even possible at all. But I only make these videos not just to hear myself talk, but to hear your opinions. So please, if you've made it this far, go on down to the comment section. What would you do? Would you make this offer? Again, one final time, Daron Payne, 26 5th, 27 1st, 27 4th. Do you think it would take more? Is that more than you're willing to give up? Let me know. I will be responding to everybody that comments. Hit the subscribe button and hit the like button as well if you did enjoy this video. I will catch you all in the next one. Have a great day.